This is We Burlesque. This is We Burlesque Podcast, the music that made we, and I'm your host, Viktor Devon, and I get to talk to nightlife individuals about music, the songs that have inspired them, the songs that they do on stage, the songs they listen to in the moment. I'm very excited to have Bella Fire back on the pod. Hello, hello.
Hi there.
Yes.
I'm excited to be back. It's been a minute.
It has, and anyone who's curious about, Bella's origin story, I will link it in the footnotes of this episode. I encourage you to find out more about this fabulous individual who's stirring up stages in Colorado and surrounding areas. How are things in Colorado? You just got back from Canada, though, too.
I did. Actually, I've been away from Colorado for a minute. I was gone most of May. I went to the Croatian Burlesque Festival.
No shit. How was that?
I won a little crown there, my second time winning Best Dance Performance there. That was really fun to be back. And then from there, I jumped right over to Blackpool and did the 100th anniversary of Blackpool Ballroom event. And I trained for about 9 months with my partner. We've been together since 2015. And I don't really compete anymore because my retired educator budget cannot support ballroom. So I basically say that ballroom is like the equestrian of the dance performance world.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah.
On the horse, right? Yeah. It's very, very, showgirling is expensive, but ballroom is like a whole nother level in terms of that. That was really fun. And then my mama's been having some heart issues. So we had to go check in on her in Arizona. And then I got home and I ran away to Canada, to Kootenay. And the Kootenay is fabulous. It's one of my favorite festivals. I was there a couple years ago, and the city of Nelson is beautiful. Mama Beaver, of course, is there. There's nothing like a little time with Judah Stein. And Vesper and Marlo are wonderful producers, and that festival is just a blast. I grew up in a small mountain community, and so when I go there, it kind of feels like going home. It's changing a lot. They've got more development coming in just like everywhere, but it still feels very, very supportive, tight-knit, wonderful community that they come out. The theater is sold out every night, and they love burlesque. So
what is it like being in all the different airports at this point in the world?
Oh, well, it got a little scary for a minute because when I was overseas in Croatia, lots of flights were getting canceled. They had that fuel shortage happening with the strait closed. And so a lot of inter-European flights were getting canceled that were smaller connections. We had some people that were flying out of Rijeka that their flights got canceled. So they had to reconfigure their trips. And so I had a feeling that might be happening, so I planned for bigger airports in general, but I was a little nervous about getting back from Blackpool to get home because I flew out of Manchester, and that's kind of a smaller airport. But I will say that the airports in general overseas are quite a bit cleaner than in the U.S., has been my experience anyway. And the bathroom stalls are always much bigger. You can wheel all your luggage in and fully turn around. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, they don't really do paper towels either. They have, a lot of them have the cloth that just
the drapery.
It gets cleaned, while it goes through. And and they definitely have customs and some of that down to a science. So because they just move people through. And there are a lot of international changes coming. So if you're planning on going overseas, make sure you get your visa stuff in order because I know that, ETIAS is coming online in September. So if anybody's traveling in the fall, definitely need to check your visa stuff out ahead of time. And anybody going to the UK, they've had their visas in place for a long time, and so you got to plan the extra money too, because it is not just filling out a form. They do definitely
Right.
charge you, and make
Do
sure
you
you get
just
the right
do
one.
you go straight through? Do you a pre-check or are you a clear? Do you just go
I
normal?
am a global traveler.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. Nice.
I paid the extra money to do that when I did my first festival because I wasn't TSA pre and I went to Saskatchewan
Uh-huh.
when everybody was going to hunt and I was going to do this burlesque festival and I had my fans with me in a long case and they couldn't figure out what they were and so I had this really hysterical conversation with the TSA agent about feather fans and yeah, so
And why you would need them.
right, yes, and they were positive
Mhm.
they were a weapon of some kind until I did like a burlesque move with the
That's so, my God, they needed you to demonstrate.
yeah, it was amazing. And then
Wow.
we just kept saying feather fans back and forth and until I went feather fans and then he went feather fans. Yeah.
That
So,
reminds me, I was traveling with my former co-director in White Elephant Say. Uh we had it was the Madonna show. It was the Madonna show. And she did True Blue, which was all blue, and she had this big feather boa. And she had it in a Tupperware that she would travel with so that it wouldn't, to keep it with some, with
yeah.
some fluff. And she happened to be pulled over. There was a police officer, and he did the thing where he was like, "Where are you coming?" He's like, "What's in the Tupperware?" And she's like, "Oh, it's a feather boa." And he was like, "What is that? Some kind of snake?" In fact, no. In fact, no. And she burst into laughter and had to try to figure out how to properly, like, no, like, like an old timey set, like made of feathers. And it's like, yeah, okay.
The other
They need to understand.
well, the best one though was we were coming back from what because we flew to Spokane and then drove to Nelson because flights are very expensive. So,
Mm.
driving the last leg is a little cheaper, but the border crossing, you have to go at the right time or it's closed. And so we were on our way back and we had like a half an hour wait because we got there early. We forgot the border didn't open until 8 a.m. and we were trying to make our flight. And so, yeah, the border agent that we were dealing with for customs, Scarlett Tart and I traveled together and she was working on a costume piece and so she had all these rhinestones in these little plastic containers and the guy was really funny. He was like, "What are these? The last 2 days I've seen so many of
Ah,
these." And so she said rhinestones and I wanted to say showgirl crack, but I thought that would delay our crossing
maybe,
for a
yeah.
while. But anyway, he was like, are they candy? Are they like supplements? And we were like, no, you put them on costumes so they sparkle. And yeah, he just didn't get it. Yeah, it was funny.
Goodness. So is this the end of your travel for the year, or you have more coming up that you know about?
Well, we have a big event here in Colorado in August,
Okay.
south of Colorado Springs, which is a couple hours from me. Hot Rod Rock and
But that's a
Rumble.
drive. That's a
Yeah, it
drive
has
though.
its
Yeah.
10-year anniversary, so that'll be a really fun event. And then I'm headed to Richmond. Um,
Oh, for RVA.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was there last year. It was a great event. Well,
I wanted to
very nice.
go for a minute, and I've never really been to the South, so I'm
Yeah.
excited to go. And
Yeah.
I've heard wonderful things about this festival too. And
Yes.
yeah, this Fanny's festival. Fanny
It,
sings chorus.
it, um, it is Ellie and Scarlett, and I don't know who else is on the team. But it's
But
a bunch. It's quite a
I've
few.
heard beautiful things. There's 2 or 3 performers who I know have done this one before
Hmm.
and had great things to say about it.
Oh
So
yeah, I was there last year. It was great. It
yeah.
was a lot of fun. Do you
So
know if
that
you're performing at like the brewery or at the theater or
I
the bar?
I think I'm at the brewery.
The brewery. Cool
I think
setup.
so.
It's a cool setup.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
anyway, I know for sure there's a couple others I'm waiting to hear back from. And honestly, my bank account can't handle much more. So, if anybody wants to support a traveling showgirl, yeah, happy to share my Venmo and PayPal because,
Yes, please tell the world.
we all need a
Please.
little something, something. So, Bella-fire-co for Venmo, and then my PayPal is bella.fire.colorado@gmail.com. So
Right.
if you want to reach out to me for any bookings, happy to listen to those as well. I feel like I
Ooh,
got a couple dates left in November and December, but otherwise, fairly booked through then, and I'm feeling good about that too.
that's wonderful. Really,
Yeah.
really great. Yeah. Good. Well, it's nice. It's nice to see a young ingenue like you getting the work. Yes.
At the ripe young age of 55. Yes,
That's
yes,
right.
yeah.
We celebrate. We celebrate.
We do.
Um,
Aging gracefully, or attempting to, which is why we're doing the showgirl reset for the gig tomorrow night.
disgracefully. Um, so you had an assignment. You were
I
supposed to
did.
pick 10 songs that
Oh,
represented the Fire storyline, experience, memoir, soundtrack, however you took it. And you came up with 10. I'm very
I
excited to
did.
find out. Some of these I'm very familiar with, and some of them I am not, but I don't know the reasons why you picked them, and you're going to walk us through it. We're going to go song by song. You're going to tell us where they fit into the storyline. We're going to listen to them, and then we're going to keep on going. You up for it?
I am up for it. I'm excited about it. And I actually took the assignment as a literal, like, this is my journey from childhood to when I dove into burlesque, is kind of the musical influence in my world. Because I feel like music has sort of always shaped my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a dancer my entire life. And I feel like I had an inner showgirl. Now that I look back at some of these songs, since I was maybe like 4 or 5, and I just didn't know it.
Ah, excellent. Well, let's dive right into your first selection. What have we chosen to open our set?
This is an influence from my dad, and it comes from the Beach Boys. And this one comes from my sister and I in the basement at our house in Granby, Colorado. I think I was 4, maybe 5, and that would have made her 6 or 7. And we used to take the ironing boards and lay them on the floor and surf. And so we are doing
Wow.
Surfing USA from the Beach Boys. My
Yes.
dad had all these old 45s that we loved, and we thought that's, what all the music was on until we started listening to 8 tracks with my mom in the car. But Surfing USA, we were really amazing surfers, I will tell you. So, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, this is back when songs were really, really short. You had to flip them over. We're back at that point again. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've noticed, but a lot of really significant pop songs these days are like 2.5 to 3 minutes.
Yes.
For return to this.
Which is when you're trying to do a number or submit an act. Like, I'm getting submissions from people for some shows, and I'm going, that's only 3 minutes. I need another minute on that song.
Yeah. Like let's consider what we're doing during that time. Like
Yeah.
let's yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I love a disco mix. I like a good time. I like good extended.
I like
But
a mashup, yeah, as well.
yeah, well, yes, of course. If you're gonna combine the standard very often is here's something light and fluffy, and then we're gonna get right
Like, we're like,
very,
wah, wah, yeah,
well,
yeah.
yeah,
Or I like a mix of the original and the cover. It's always
yes,
interesting, yeah. Because there's some really
yeah.
good covers out there now, too.
There are, and we also have a great number of. It's sort of difficult backwards in that regard because sometimes the cover is upbeat and the original
Yeah,
is upbeat, but the cover is like that slow
yep.
theatrical,
And
like the trailer version.
I'm a fan also of postmodern jukebox because they can take pretty much anything and turn it into a burlesque vibe.
All right, this is Surfing USA from the Beach. That was Surfing USA, the Beach Boys. I had to double check. 1963. I did not know Chuck Berry wrote that with
Yeah,
Brian Wilson. Yeah, I mean that sort of makes sense because with the jangle. But nice.
there were so many Beach Boys songs that we blasted all the time at home, and my dad had like a giant stack of 45s from when he was in high school that he hadn't maintained forever. I think I still have a big box of them here at my house. somewhere.
Mm.
My sister has some of them as well. So they're really kind of a fun memento to have around because he's no longer with us. And it's one of those treasured memories of childhood for
Uh-huh.
sure. Yeah.
My father had I'm from the second marriage of my father's, and my mom, the woman who gave birth to me, is no longer with us. She passed when I was very young, but she had a collection of like pop records, everything from like 1999 by Prince and like a Virgin and She's So Unusual to also like this really interesting like folk lesbian vibe
Oh,
of like Holly Near and folks. Everyone was named Chrissy. I don't know. A lot of Chrissys. I remember that. But like, and also like like your Peter Paul and Mary and like probably something like Mamas and the Papas and things like that. But it really showed like a really interesting like window into her that I didn't have a context for until I found out that my mom was possibly a lesbian, at least bisexual, and was highly repressed and sort of all of that sort of weighed heavily upon her and eventually contributed to her downfall. But it sort of I remember that's how I first heard Like a Virgin, which became an important record for me. It's the first how I first heard She's So Unusual, which became a very important record to me. It's the first time I heard Thriller.
wow.
And unfortunately, I know that most of those, if not all of them, are completely gone because my father had some sort of leak in the household at one point back when he moved, and everything was lost. And I was like, oh, what a shame. What a goddamn shame. I know.
Devastating. Oh my gosh. That's
Uh,
where I kind of go on a hunt at thrift stores. And even if
hmm
the record isn't pristine anymore, I can replace it, and
Yeah,
it's more about the
holding
memory.
on to it. Well, I
Yeah.
just remember staring at the covers
Oh
and the
my gosh.
liner notes.
Yep.
I remember distinctly uh reading the lyrics to She Bop by Cyndi Lauper, and it saying, "I hope he will understand," and it had an arrow pointing up because the he in that song, for those who don't know, is God, because it's about masturbation. And I was like, I just thought that was such a cool like. So whenever I hear it, I think of the visual of that. And I remember my father had the Weird Al Yankovic debut album, which had if you've ever seen the cover, it's a drawing, but there's so much detail. It's like a Mad Magazine all in one. And it's like, just remember like, oh, that's the reference to this song. Oh, that's a reference to this song. Oh, that's it. I don't know. I just distinctly recall. It was also the first time I ever saw a man in a G-string, which was Prince Dirty Mind. So,
That LPs when they had the liner notes and everything, and you
hmm
could read all the lyrics, right, and then get really the context of the song. It really told a story, which I feel like we don't necessarily get that anymore when people drop songs.
not as easily. I mean, it's depending on what you're listening to. I know Apple and I know Spotify have the lyrics attached, but so much of our music listening is passive these
Yeah,
days. Like we listen to it, and this is one reason that I really enjoy like sitting in a room sharing music with people like right now. I'm also a big fan of the aux cord when I'm driving. I love having a passenger and sharing with that person whatever the hell I want. Because I was a child who could very frequently not have access to picking which cassette tape.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
had a list of maybe 10 I could work with. So I could pick Godspell if I wanted. I could pick, what else? Harry Chapin if my father had that in the car, things like that. That's how I learned who Angela Lloyd Webber was as well. But for the most part, once I got my Madonna on cassette, very rarely was I allowed to play my Madonna on cassette in the class.
In the car, especially, yeah. My second song, as our
Yeah, let's go.
segue, yeah, is we listened to a lot of 8 tracks in the car.
hmm
My mom drove a Buick Skylark, and we had an 8-track player in there. My dad rode a motorcycle a lot, so he didn't have at that time. They didn't really have music on the bikes yet, and so that came later on. But I think we had maybe like eight tracks, maybe 10
Mm.
to pick from. And Barry Manilow was one of those. We had Mac Davis and Neil Diamond and Neil Sedaka
The Neil
and
Diamond was on the list too. Yeah.
Fifth Dimension. Um, So we knew all these songs, and when we would do road trips to go see my grandparents, we would pop in the 8 tracks and then just belt
Go
them
right
out
through them.
on the drive. Yeah.
Yep.
So my mom loved to sing, and we just had songs that we liked to sing. And so I almost picked a Neil Diamond song, but
Okay.
I picked a Barry Manilow song instead because that was also one of the first concerts that my mom went to at Red Rocks, and she came home so jazzed about Barry Manilow that we listened to Barry Manilow insanely over and over and over. And Copacabana was probably my favorite. And I did put the short version in, but I will say the long version is really my favorite.
Oh, yes.
And then it swings back around because later on in my life, I started teaching Zumba fitness. And when I first started going to class, because I did a lot of kickboxing and high impact was taking a toll on my body, and I still wanted to
Mm.
dance, and I found this Zumba class that was starting in my area, and I started going, and one of the songs that she did all the time was Copacabana. And so full circle on coming back to that one, and that kind of inspired me to go get my license to teach it, and I had a blast with it for a long, long time. Yeah, so.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he
This is
talks
a great. I mean,
about his showgirl.
it's a bopping song. It really is. Have you heard? Have you ever seen the Liza Minnelli with the Muppets version of the Copa?
I have, in fact.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
It's
Well,
great.
for you, I will pop in the 12-inch version, into the final version because people need to hear the proper Copa.
They
But
do. They do.
this is from the album Even Now, 1978, Barry Manilow, Copacabana.
Because they have to hear about Rico.
How many Lolas who are showgirls do you now know? Really? How
Oh,
could you possibly have known?
right? I mean, and I can't even tell you how many Lolas I know now that, I mean, I could list probably 8 or 9. Just like,
I feel like that would be a good driving game. Good showgirl
yeah,
driving game. Like, okay, somebody pick a name, how many can we think of? And the person who's next who can't think of one, they lose. So then you move on to the next one. The next one. Okay, we'll go into Ruby. Okay, now we'll go into Kitty. All right.
yeah, yeah.
There's
No,
quite a few Bellas too.
there
You have
are many, many Bellas. Yeah. So if I'd have known that, because my stage name actually comes from one of the songs, tangentially. So I'll talk about that again in a minute. But
okay.
yeah, there's a lot of Bellas.
It sort of lends itself, and yours is also not abrupt, not abrupt. Abrupt is the wrong word. Not over, not abundantly the pun,
Yes, yes,
but it is a play on words.
yes.
So if you say it with Justin Abellifier, oh,
It,
um,
it almost can be like a single instead of two, right? If you
Bellifier. Oh yeah, Bellifier.
it rolls,
Yeah.
phonetically a little better than some of the other burlesque names, which can be very challenging to pronounce as well.
Going from that last syllable or going from that last consonant into the next sometimes can be very troublesome. Victor Devon, I think, lends itself because the R and the D are distinctive.
Yes.
Um, Bella Sin, another Bella, frequently calls me Victor Devon, which is totally fine. She's They're really the only person who does that. But
You're
for
like,
some reason, they've
with
gotten
permission,
into
yeah.
yeah. With I don't know if it's a specific and they know, but for some reason they very frequently. And what I will often tell people is when MCs check, and they say just throw it away, just Victor Devon, just toss it, because the more you overthink it, then you'll stutter or stumble.
When I love the ones that ask you to spell it phonetically, because some of the pronunciations are really complicated, and mine feels kind of silly because I'm like, I don't feel like I have to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway because
Bella.
sometimes, right, they think the
Yeah.
Ray that I have on Facebook is part of it, but that's just because Facebook is dumb.
They don't like that Sire is the last name,
Correct. So they'll
which
say
is
you're
so
not a real
weird.
person every time
You
I try to
can
delete it.
legally change your name to almost anything in the United States. There are
Yeah.
Kenobis in our country. Like I don't know. It's such a strange world. Ah, well, Copacabana, which is a bit of a murder ballad, really.
Yes,
Uh,
it is.
quite adult material looking back that is so fun
And
and
that's
jazzy.
and I think that's, like I don't know, that same era, but a little bit older, maybe like 8 or 9. I was very much all about Copacabana and dancing in the living room and pretending like I was the showgirl. So, yes. And it
Yeah.
also lends itself to maybe why I really liked dancing the Latin style of ballroom as well, because I do this weird combination of smooth and Latin instead of staying with international, because I like the cha-cha and the samba and some of those other paso dances that aren't a part of American rhythm. So it's a
Merengue? Do you merengue?
I do merengue when I teach Zumba, because that's one of the
Ooh.
fundamental dances that we have in Zumba. Yeah.
I'm mostly talking out of Dirty Dancing in my head because most of my awareness of the proper terminology is pop culture influenced. So I had a singer on the regular pod, Isabella Ivy, and we were talking about contraltos and vocal stuff because she's a singer. And I was like, just so you know, I'm totally like everything that you hear me saying is because I don't know, at one point Patty LuPone said it, or at one point I read it in an article about Cher. Like, just so you know, like I don't know any of the proper.
Which is
It's not that I'm
perfect.
opposed; it just doesn't stick. It just doesn't stick. A lot of people will equate mathematics and music, and as a mathematical person, do you find that to be fair assessment?
Definitely. There's a lot of mathematicians that I know, or people that I was in education with that were in
Mhm.
math. And they were very musical. They played musical instruments when they were younger. They played piano. Some of them played guitar. Definitely had a musical background. And mine, I tried to take piano lessons when I was young, and I felt like it was torture. So I did a couple of years, and then I had to do band in high school, which I also thought was torture. And then
Did you
I
play piano in band?
no clarinet, which was
Okay.
yeah. I think I wanted to play the flute, but they wouldn't let me do it because my mouth wasn't right. Yeah, so yeah, whoever our band teacher was, like, didn't let us pick our band instrument. They assigned it to you. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, it's like that not really having a choice and being forced to do it was not my thing at all. Yes. So I didn't last very long, but if I could move to it, then I was really happy. So I think the math and the music is in my body a different way than,
Yeah. Less
yeah.
in the composition and more in the composition,
Right. Yeah.
more
Yeah.
of
Well,
your how you feel it.
I like to do musicality and movement. So
Hmm.
I teach some workshops on some of that, because we want to find, the syncopation in the beat. We want to find the downbeat versus just everything one note. And I know everybody in burlesque is not a dancer, and so showing stylistically, how to make some of those connections. If you don't hear it in the music, some of us
uh,
already hear it, but not everybody does. So I love that part of it.
it's it's a formula, really. I mean, that's why it makes sense with the math stuff. So depending on what you're listening to, can you tell if something is like off or if there's like does it hit you in a way? Because there are some people who are like very uh, heightened to that.
Some sometimes, especially with horns, when I feel like the horn is not at the right crescendo or pitch.
Mm.
I will. We had a couple of numbers when we were in Kootenai where people were, clapping along and they were on the
Oh
offbeat,
yeah.
and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. I am for one of those reasons not frequently a clapper at concerts and things like that because I believe that I will inherently pick up the beat properly, but because so many people are around me and doing different things, I'm like, I would rather just not participate in that if that's all right with everybody. Uh, yeah. Also, it's terrible whenever somebody gets photographed clapping because invariably someone's like this and someone's like this, and it never looks
It never looks right. Yeah.
good. So are you 70 or a 71, maybe?
70.
70 proper.
70.
Um, so when we get into disco, which we're about to,
We are.
and well, in Copa has disco elements as well. They're on the
Definitely.
way. It's on the way.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of that music is obviously very upbeat and very energetic and long and, marathonish to a certain point. Um, what is your sweet spot for how long a non-competitive act is for you?
Oh,
Because we were talking about like the 2-minute songs, so we have to do a thing.
yeah.
What's a good span of time you usually find yourself working with?
Well, I typically kind of stick to the 4 minute because
Mm,
I want to be flexible in terms of submitting my act to different places. But if I have no restrictions and I were going to make something that I didn't really have to think about the length, my newbie burlesque would have a heart attack. But right now, I would say that it's like 5.5 to 6 minutes is a wonderful time frame because you can play so much, but it
mhm,
also has to be very interesting, right, to maintain the
mhm.
audience connection and interaction. Because if it's not, then people get bored, and you want people to be sitting up versus looking around going, is it done yet?
Is it?
And so, yeah, and it doesn't necessarily need to be all about revealing and removing costume pieces either. So the ones that are
No, yeah.
the floor show ones, where you can really play with the audience as well as do your reveals, I think the 6 minute mark is kind of a really nice spot because it does really allow you time to interact with more than one person in the audience.
As a more recognized classic burlesque performer in that style, do you find more of a slow burn sort of feel, or do you like something with a little bit more cha-cha?
I would say I like something that initially starts off with a little more bounce and pep to it, maybe a little more flirt, and then going into something maybe a little slower and more sultry. Yeah.
Mm.
But it still has to have a little bit of a hard downbeat for me because I
Mm.
like those bigger hits in the music.
Oh, yes. You want some bumps.
I do. I want some bumps. Yeah.
We're about to go Showgirl to Streetwalker with
We
our next
are.
selection. I'm very excited. I love this song. Um, there are a lot of great songs about sex workers out there, and this is certainly one of them. And I would say it could be a lot judgier. It's not bad for
No.
I mean, no pun intended. It's not it it does make some calls and some decisions on some of the personalities of the folks. But what was a nice 9-year-old girl like you
Right?
listening to a song like this?
Well, my dad had a job at the Rexall drugstore. He was a pharmacist. And if you remember Rexall drugstores, they kind of had the Hallmark card section. They
Okay.
had stuffed animals. They sold candy. They had a soda fountain. And they also had a record and poster section. And so my dad would get this sampling of records, which we would then listen to, and then he would get them into the store to sell. This was a toss up for me about which one I was going to pick because Michael Jackson, PYT, was the other
Mm.
song that I really latched onto. But this Donna Summer album, I fell in love with, probably much to the horror of my parents because I had her poster like up in my room over my bed, just gigantic
They brought
poster.
it into the house.
Yeah.
Was
And
her at the lamppost? Was that what the poster was?
no, it was her in this gorgeous purple dress that's all
Mm.
slinky, and she had her legs crossed and was like just,
Ooh,
absolute. I
just
think
pin
I
up.
still have the poster. I'm pretty sure I still have this record in a box somewhere. So I went from listening to pretty much show tunes because my other record of choice was Oklahoma. And so I would play that endlessly. And then Donna Summer. Yeah. So Bad Girls off of that soundtrack was
Yeah.
love it. And anytime I hear it, I just perk up and I got to go to the dance floor. That toot toot beep beep comes on and I'm down. I'm in.
Nice. This is a great album. For folks who don't know, I mean, I know Donna Summer gets a lot of respect for her singles, but a lot of the album tracks in this are quite good. Um, All Through the Night is really great. On My Honor is really great. The hits are also Hot Stuff is on this album.
Yeah.
Walk Away is on this album. Dim All the Lights. Yes,
Oh,
sweet darling.
love that song. I think Hot Stuff and Dim All the Lights are my other two favorites off the album, but Bad Girls just rises to a whole nother level. And I was
Oh, and
kind of a sassy little spitfire even from a young age.
uh,
And so I think my parents probably didn't know what this song was about, but they were like, "Yes, you are a bad child." Yeah, because
oh, sure.
my nickname at
Yeah.
times was Child from Hell. So
I do like though because again, if you don't know, I mean, it's similar to how like She-Bop, unless you have like the lore, you don't necessarily know. I mean, Bad Girls was sung in like the Rugrats Paris movie. Like it's like you can remove the core. Um, but I love that like she would lean into it for like the public appearance. Like the music video is actually her and a bunch of hookers,
yeah,
and it's wonderful. And she's one of them, and that also is like I understand that there are people who might not love the possible appropriation of that, but considering it's again kind of a how about you just a live and let live kind of meant sentiment, I love it. I think it's kind of a yeah.
and
All right,
when MTV came around and the music videos started coming out for some of these particular songs, the style vibe that came with some of the outfits and the styling that were on this particular album were incredible. It launched a whole other fashion scene. Yeah.
oh yeah, this and Vanity when oh what was that song called? Not Bad Girl. What is it? It's oh God, what the hell is the song?
Well, play this one and then it'll
All
come
right.
to you.
This
Yeah.
is Bad Girls from 1979. Bad Girls. It was a nasty girl that I was trying to think of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Can you be a nasty girl? Yeah.
Oh, that's a great song too. Yeah.
It is a really good song. Unfortunately, you can't find it anywhere. It's not. I mean, you can buy it, but it's not like on streaming anywhere. Prince's stuff is still amorphous. When a lot of the Paisley Park stuff is not his. So
I did find I'm working on a number for a Prince Act.
ooh,
Hoping to take to Vegas for a show there in September. But I did find a couple of them on Spotify. So, but yeah, the Paisley Park stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do appreciate how they are going into the vault. Like you're like they're putting out the promo remixes and a lot of the other stuff. I like that. I'm a remix kind of guy. I enjoy hearing alternate versions of songs, particularly if I really love them. Because then I like it's a different version of it. And as a Madonna fan, I have that a lot in spades. So I feel like a lot of the remix world has sort of again I used to get like the cassette singles and the maxi singles, and that was like my vibe. I used to, uh, when
People
you were
don't
listening to,
understand about cassettes. You know how exciting it was to go get that, and
yeah, yeah,
and then you would play that one song over and over again, and it would get that weird groove in it, and then eventually you'd have to use your pencil to rewind it because it wouldn't work anymore. Yeah.
yes, or those blue tipped pens, the Bics. You would have to, yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah.
Because it has the octagonal shape to get in the grooves. Yeah.
And I would get a little cranky if it had the same program on both side A and side B because that's not what that was for. Side B was supposed to be for either the alternate version or another song entirely. So preferably a non-album track because I was buying that album too.
Yeah. Right? It's supposed to inspire you to buy the next thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So when Bad Girls came out, your parents were a little skeptical, I guess,
They
about
were.
what was going on in the walls. Was anything else? Was anything too much? Did anything come up that they were like, okay, not in our household?
No, actually, they were really pretty open about a lot of the music and a lot of things I wanted to try. My dad also took me to see the Blues Brothers. I
Mm.
insisted that I needed to go see this movie. It was very much R-rated. He also dropped me off to the Rocky Horror Picture Show with no idea what was happening. And all of the high school and college students that were home were like, what is this young kid doing at the Rocky Horror Picture Show? But I mean, I was exposed, I think, to a lot only because I just don't know if my parents knew what was happening, but my dad did love the Blues Brothers movie with me. He bought me the cassette after the movie. We played it all the time in the car together, and my favorite song from that movie was Aretha Franklin, the Bend Over, Let Me See You Shake Your Tail Feather. You know, I
Yes.
learned that whole dance. I watched that over and over and over and over. So yeah, it was a blast.
Mm.
But no, that's a good question. I even got to uh, not permanently color my hair, but I got the semi-permanent dye when I was in high school. That I got to do kind of the weird colors and the crazy 80s haircuts that came out. And yeah, they just were like, do whatever you want. They were pretty uncomfortable with the black lipstick for a while. They were really struggling with that, especially when I would go out in public and rock the punker vibe because I was, supposed to be cute and pastel, and I was not.
No. Were you like a Susie Sue? Did you get all or Pat Benatar-ish? Were you all
I would say more Pat Benatar-ish, more Joan Jett
that?
kind of, yeah, vibe. As much as they would let me. There was a couple times where I really wanted to dye my hair, like vibrant purple, and that was a no. That was a, no. Because I was also on the cheerleading squad, and they probably would have had a heart attack.
Yeah, there probably was some bylaw that
Right.
prevented you
Yeah.
from having.
I probably would have gotten kicked off. I did have really long hair with bangs. And then
Okay.
when I made the squad, I remember they had all these rules about how we had to do our hair and like French braid, blah, 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 and matchy matchy. And so I chopped all my hair off, kind of like Belinda Carlisle, and did this whole punker cut. And then when I came back for cheer camp, they were not happy with me because I had sliced and diced my hair and sort
You
of yeah, no, thank you, but no.
damn. We're going back in time a little bit with our next track. Tell me where this falls into.
I have to look at my list here and see where we are.
It's
Oh,
your
yes.
yes.
This kind of connects back with my parents separated when I was really young, and my mom is actually the one that moved away, so I stayed with my dad. And my mom had moved to Denver, and my dad was in Granby, and we were moving to this other small town in southern Colorado. And I had some angst going, and so I was digging back into those 45s that he had, and also really, exploring music again in a different way.
Yeah.
And I got into listening to some of the Stones and the Beatles and Elvis. He was a huge Elvis fan, but the Beatles really kind of resonated with me at that time. And my stage name is a little bit coming from my real name because Michelle My Belle is where my real name comes from, and so I took the Belle from that, and that's where the Bella comes from. But that wasn't my favorite Beatles song, so I actually really love Penny Lane, and there's just something about, I don't know, the tempo of that song and the way the voices blend together, the harmonies just are beautiful. And I, it was in the era where we didn't have, we had the 45. We didn't have, the big LP, so I didn't know the lyrics, and I listened to it over and over and over so that I could learn the lyrics word for word.
Well, this was also the Beatles discography is baffling for the United States versus the UK because different albums came out only for the UK, different songs were only on singles. So for America, this was just a single too.
It was.
And then it was available on future editions of Sgt. Pepper. So they didn't make it easy on any of us.
No, and I love that whole Sergeant Pepper album.
Oh, think about the album covers, staring at album covers too. One of the most legendary. Yeah.
So that was, I think, also kind of an understanding about some of the inspiration behind, the music. There was this whole subculture of um, alternative substances that were out there as well, that being, raised in kind of a small community, it was all there, but I wasn't really exposed to a lot of that until I moved to this other small town, which was a prison town, and
Mm.
drugs were very prevalent in that new community. So that was a whole eye opener, and it was a much bigger city than we had lived in before. So I went from a very small fish bubble, really, I would say, fish bowl, to
Mm.
more of a fish pond. It was still really small. It wasn't a lake by any means, but yeah, it was all of a sudden out of nowhere. There was this big drug culture because of the prison element, and it was wild just to getting exposed to what my junior high friends were into, and I felt really like a country bumpkin moving into that
Mm.
community, and just living a really sheltered life, and moving into this. It was like very big city at the time, which it really wasn't until, I was able to drive and, get out into bigger places and learn a lot more about the world.
Yeah, well, drugs, I think, were, I think, sort of considered. I mean, they were dangerous and they were for outlaws and they were a little
Right.
bit low rent. Like they were expensive, sure, but just till the '80s, really, where it was luxury. Like there was a big difference in how they were depicted. And nowadays, well, nowadays it's sort of complicated, but a lot of it, I think, still resonates in class discussions. So,
But especially about the type of
yeah,
drug that you're using,
yeah.
well, and also some of it, discovering what's medically necessary and what's beneficial based on different conditions and how it's accepted. And my dad was a pharmacist, so I
Mm.
mean, we didn't have a lot of money also when I was young, so we didn't go to the doctor. He just figured out our symptoms and then we self-medicated. So it's not like we weren't using medication at home. He would just go, "What are your symptoms? What do you got?" And then, we'd figure out what we needed. And it was usually, a virus or something like that. It wasn't anything more serious
I
than
don't
that.
know. Those suburban kids had to ruin NyQuil for everybody. So,
Right? Yeah.
you know,
But yeah, I just, that was the Beatles and the Stones and a whole nother genre of rock, and being exposed to that along with things like the Steve Miller Band and um America. It was just a whole different journey for me in terms of listening to a whole nother era of music and taking,
mm.
because we had more access to radio, better radio stations, more road trips. Yeah, there was just different access to music. I felt like coming in, because we had a couple of stations where we were, and it was mostly AM radio.
Now we have extraterrestrial, not non-terrestrial radio.
Yeah, like you can get anything you want anywhere at any time.
uh, this is the Beatles with Penny Lane. Ah, it's so fun and it's such a warm
Yeah.
quality about Penny Lane.
And there's a certain undercurrent, I feel like, of jazz in it that almost
Yeah.
makes me kind of think speakeasy-ish. So I don't know if that's part of why that one resonated with me as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
also learning that a Mac is a raincoat.
It's a raincoat.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep.
And a boot is a trunk.
Uh, yeah, it's basically our town. Uh, Penny Lane is basically just a series of walking through a neighborhood and saying that's that person and that person and that person. It's Good Morning Baltimore, but
Absolutely.
oh, when you are looking at the music that you now are appreciating on your own, because so much of our early music is inspired by either your family members or by friends or what have you, or it may be just what we happen to find on the dial or on TV. Do you find that that there is contemporary music that really vibes with you the same way? or are you more of a what came before?
I would say I'm a mix of both. Um, right now, in terms of my performance world, I'm really enjoying 1940s inspired music. I'm really leaning hard into some more classic. Um, Even though I kind of get a classic label, I feel like I'm more of a neo person based on how much I dance and the upbeat music that I like, but
We use classic
pretty
loosely in
broadly.
burlesque.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But because I do the more, I would say, traditional style costuming with the dresses and the
right.
bows and the fans and all of that, it
Yeah.
definitely does fit. And I would say, based on my appearance, I can see that
The
label
gown and
apply.
glove.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it applies well. So, but I'm really, I don't know, it's kind of diving in a little bit into more historical songs, and I just am feeling the most recent number that I have is kind of a nod to my grandmother, and she used to sing me "The Man in the Moon," and so I found this beautiful costume overseas that I purchased from a performer, and I've been developing and working that act for a while, and it's
Mm.
um, I when I researched it and looked at it, I basically searched 1940 songs about moonlight to mash into that one and finding a song that I really really like, and it's sitting at 4 minutes and I want to make it longer. I'm like I want this song to be 7 minutes, and so laughing about who's going to let me do a 7 minute song. There's not very many stages where you get to really play hard unless it's a specialty show, which we do have those here from time to time, and that's really fun to be able to do that. Or if you're in a competition, and then you get to perform to a live band and they can
Mm.
play those kind of songs. And that's another reason that I love some of that era, is that if I do get to do a show with a band, a lot of times it's a big band, and they love to be able to play, kind of the upbeat as well as the older things that the older music, the swing music, the 1940s big band era. Yeah.
Right, because it's songs that they know or
Yeah, it
can
is. It
easily
is.
figure out because they're
Yeah.
fairly, you follow
And then
the.
I have this whole weird mashup of Zumba music and pop music that I love to dance to, because I taught Zumba for a long time, as well as La Blast, which La Blast is the ballroom version of kind of Zumba.
Okay.
And so I'm licensed in both of those. I don't teach like I used to, but I used to teach 8 classes a week. And yeah, I don't can't even tell you how many songs I had in my head at the same time with choreography, and this great mix of like salsa and pop and reggaeton and cha-cha and just this whole genre of music. And so I have a very eclectic palette when it comes to music, and I love it because some stuff will come on and I'll know the lyrics, and people look at me like, "How do you know that song?" Yeah, no, it's just yeah.
Oh, when we get to side B, we're gonna the second half of your list is quite
It
quite
is. It's a
variety.
little
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, we've already, I mean, to go from Beach Boys to Donna Summer to Barry Manilow to what we're about to,
Yes.
there's some, I mean, you can sort of see,
Yeah.
but yeah. Let's get into our next track, actually. We're going to close out side A with our fifth song. What is your selection?
So this one comes from that kind of leaning into the punk era a little bit and alternative music, and U2 was one of the biggest bands for me in high school that influenced, I would say, kind of the music that I listened to, and I got really into things like Suicidal Tendencies and the Dead Kennedys, and just really had a lot of alternative bands on my playlist. I saw Necros and Circle Jerks in concert at the Asland with a group of skinheads in Denver. That was quite an experience. Stayed out of the mosh pit, which was great
Oh,
because I would have gotten squished. That was a little hardcore for me, and then I, made my way back into some other music that was not quite off of the punk end as much. But U2 really spoke to me on a visceral level, and the song With or Without You did have my first really big heartbreak, and that happened in high school. And in the beginning, the song was kind of about how I felt about having my heart broken. And then I figured out he really wasn't that good of a guy. And then it was more about, I just really like this music. And so I got to see U2 in concert a couple different times. I did see the Joshua Tree tour when McNichols Arena was still a place here in Denver. It's long since been torn down, but I had seats in the nosebleed section and then snuck all the way down to the floor with another guy, which is really hard to do now. But I remember this concert was on a weeknight, and my dad said, "If you're going, you got to go to school the next day." And I said, "Okay." And we drove 2.5 hours to Denver to go to this concert, and I went with a group of guys in this car and me, and they said a rite of passage was we had to pee in the median on the way. So check, done that. The things you do when you're young and dumb in high school. And so we stayed out all night. We drove back. We got home at 5. I went to school, and yeah, it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen. The Ramones opened, and afterwards we went over to the hotel and waited for the band to go back into the hotel. We never saw U2, but we did see the Ramones, and they signed autographs and stuff. It was really cool. It was an amazing experience. But this particular song, just the depth of emotion that's in Bono's voice, it's just a beautiful song. Yeah.
It is. It is. It's a great album too. It also has a lot of really great stuff on it.
It really does. Yeah.
1987, the Joshua Tree. This is with. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's very anthemic. It's driving, screaming the lyrics as you drive.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I still have my Threadbare concert T-shirt in a box as well. I wore that thing until it was almost nothing, and I have held on to it. I tried to find a replacement for it. Ooh, are those pricey?
Yeah. This so vintage, where people are just screen pressing old. Like, let's be nice to people, please. Let's allow us some. If I wanted to buy original merchandise, you don't have to do that to me.
I'm manifesting. I'm going to find one in a thrift store someday. That somebody's like, I don't need that anymore, and I'll say, thank you, I do.
Thank you. Mine, thank you.
So if anybody finds a U2 Joshua Tree T-shirt that's in a smaller size, yeah,
look up Bella. Yeah.
Look up a girl.
Was that your first concert, or that was your first real adult, young adult concert?
Oh, I have to remember. I think my first concert was Psychedelic Furs at Red Rocks.
Damn.
Yeah, and they'd just come off of making Pretty in Pink, and it was that tour, and so that was a really good concert too. Yeah.
I did not go to concerts as a child, and I wish that I had opportunities. It just didn't. I don't know. That's the first one I wanted to go to was Blonde Ambition, and that I was too young for. And then I wanted to see Girly Show, and I was too young for that one too. But there's Madonna tours for those who don't know.
Absolutely.
But I had friends who were like, oh, and I saw Rhythm Nation, I saw Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation, or I saw this one. I'm like, yeah, if I had a time machine, I would go back, because I would love to go see Tina Turner at the height of the What's Love Got to Do with a Private Dancer tour. I would love to fucking do that. Can you imagine?
So good.
So something like that. Yeah. We saw, husband and I saw Madonna for her last tour. We saw Cindy for her last tour as well, Cyndi Lauper in Palm Desert, which is kind of Palm Springs. And I don't know, we're going to see Robin this year, the singer Robin.
Yeah.
Trying to think if we have anything, but we don't. We're trying to do more. We're trying to, I think it's one good. It's expensive, but especially if they're in that area, we already like Palm Springs, so it's nice to So we're going in January. We happen to be seeing Kathy Griffin, but we're also enjoying ourselves just being in Palm Springs as well. So
Well,
yeah.
and concert tickets, I mean, when, like, I still have my concert tickets from when I went, and those
Mm,
concert tickets were $35 versus now you're talking hundreds and or thousands of dollars to go to these concerts. Um, the boyfriend took me to see Sting at Red Rocks, and I didn't ask what he paid for those tickets. um, and I mean, there's sort of assigned seating, but people move around and find better
yeah.
spots to view from. And it's a beautiful concert space, but it's also, we're at this really high altitude. So a lot of the artists have to take a break and get oxygen.
Oh, right.
They come in and they need to acclimate for a couple of days, and then they try to sing at mile high level. And if you're used to living at sea level and then you come here and try to sing, this also happens when we have vocalists in burlesque competitions. So note, if you are ever coming here for Colorado Burlesque Festival or Mile High or anything, and you're going to sing, make sure you come in early because altitude sickness is really a thing. And so,
Forget about that. Yeah.
yeah, but I think the big thing too is, pricing is you get priced out of stuff because concerts are wonderful, a wonderful entertainment experience, live entertainment in general. Even to go see some of the cover bands that we have
Hmm.
who are wonderful, their tickets have gotten more expensive just because, traveling is crazy.
Yeah. Well, the venues too. Also, a lot of the venues will amp up the pricing, and it's sort of dependent, I think, sometimes on maybe you don't have to do the arena. Like maybe go to the smaller area.
Yeah.
We have the Grove here in Anaheim, and it was a perfectly lovely space. We went to see Tim Curry and Leslie Ann Warren introduce Clue, the movie. And they had like a Q&A, and it was a lovely experience. And I'm like, oh, this is also like a concert hall. Like you could do like regular shows here. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, but who would? Like at what level would
Yeah.
you say, oh no, I want to do the stadium. Oh no, I'm gonna do this one over here. I'm like, I think what happens is that a lot of times we get tour cancellations because they overestimate. Like maybe do some of the smaller stuff, and then have to extend or have to,
Well,
especially if you're a theatrical show.
and the ones that used to do the smaller gigs and then do acoustic versions of those, there were some performers in the 90s and early 2000s who were doing these, mega venues,
Hmm.
and then they would come and do a small acoustic show,
Hmm.
kind of at the tail end of that. Like they might, do our, Pepsi Arena or whatever, and then they would do that on Friday and Saturday night, and then Sunday they'd do this super intimate acoustic show, and that was so cool. That was the best.
Mm.
I mean, I would rather do that show because there's 30 people or 50 people in this venue, and at the end you can actually walk up and have a conversation, and they sign
Yeah.
autographs, and the tickets are they usually weren't ever sure if they were going to sell those out, so the tickets were a much more reasonable price. It was very cool, and I feel like there's not a lot of those anymore. Yeah,
You sort of had to know that they were happening too. Like they were sort of more like
yeah,
members only. Like,
on the
yeah.
DL, yeah.
Yeah.
The Music That Made We is produced by Victor Devon. The Burlesque Podcast Network is the creation of me, Victor Devon. Podcast artwork is by Logan LaFleur. We Burlesque and podcast cover art photography is by Atticus Stevenson. The theme song, On a 45, is by This Way to the Egress and is used with permission. Incidental music is via Pixabay under the Fair Use Doctrine. Visit WeBurlesquePodcast.com for notes on this and every episode. You can follow We Burlesque and Victor Devon on just about every platform. Follow @ symbol before it and remove all the spaces. You can also support the podcast via patreon.com/WeBurlesque or via Venmo by searching VIKTORBEVONNE. Don't got the cash? Who does? Please follow, subscribe, and get 5 stars on every platform you can get your hands on. It really does help. All original material is owned by Victor Devon and by Ellison Burlesque Corporation. All of the materials are property of their respective copyright. No infringement, while likely, is intended. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair uses are used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All rights and credit go directly to the rightful owners. No copyright infringement intended. Please don't sue me.